Just a few weeks ago, we began using Venerable's book, Awaken Every Day, as the basis for our teachings and our meditation practice for the UU class. And honestly, at first I thought, they're so short. How do we make a half-hour talk or, fill the time using these short meditations? But what I've discovered is that actually each of those motivations is packed with meaning and things to think about. And of course, each one of us will draw out different things that spark our mind or resonate with us. So the other day I was leading the class, and the motivation was on the 3 daily aspirations. And this is something that is kind of like a foundational concept here at the Abbey. Venerable encourages all of us to try to wake up with the thought in our mind, today as much as possible, may I not harm myself or others with my body, speech, and mind. Today as much as possible, may I benefit others with my body, speech, and mind. And today may I do all my activities of body, speech, and mind with a bodhicitta motivation. So the beauty of working with this book is really bringing home the power of motivation. What's interesting is that often in this class, people will ask, I understand the words, but how do I do it? How do I keep mindful throughout the day? Well, it's exactly the motivation, coming back to what is our motivation for everything that we're doing throughout the day. So I think it's going to be a great training, and I'm looking forward to continuing to be involved with the class. So as I was thinking about these 3 daily aspirations, I realized that I had never stopped to analyze them and really think about them deeply. It reminded me of how if you ask people, do you believe in karma, or do you believe what goes around comes around, they'll say, oh, yes, yes. But if you ask them on a daily basis how much of your life is guided by that understanding, they look at you like, what? What are you talking about? So I think it's similar like this. We might know these words, we might say them every day, maybe even a couple times a day, but have we really stopped to think about what they mean? So I'm sure there are many ways to unpack these 3 daily aspirations, and I haven't gone back to see what Venerable said about them, so this is just what occurred to me. I've been reading through the 6 perfections, and I noticed that there was an interesting correlation between the perfection of ethics and the divisions of ethics and these 3 motivations. And so that's what I thought to correlate or equate them with today. So I'm just going to talk about some of these, what dawned in my mind. So first of all, I think it's important to notice that in that motivation it says, today as much as possible. So right there, we can relax, we can start where we are, we don't have to be perfect. We can bring a sense of friendliness and curiousness to how we're going to go through our day. We can be open to learning, giving ourselves space to develop our mindfulness as we go. And what we've been encouraging people to do in the course is to think about these, whatever the motivation is, think about it in the morning, then check back in at noon and refresh the motivation. And then in the evening to look back and see, how did you do? How were your actions throughout the day? Did they match up with these 3 motivations? So today, as much as possible. So that's our aspiration. Today, as much as possible. Of course, we'll make mistakes, and that's just okay. It's just the nature of having a mind habituated with afflictive emotions, as we all do. But slowly, slowly, we start to see some change. So today, as much as possible, I won't harm anybody with my body, speech, and mind. Wow, that's a tall order, especially if you're living closely with other people. It's so easy to wake up in a bad mood, or all of a sudden something just doesn't go the way you want it to. Maybe you're attached to something. Maybe you just find someone irritating. Maybe you find yourself irritating that day. So many things can influence our mind, and our mind is our most precious commodity. Really, it's the thing that we need to be taking the most care of throughout the day. And so it's a good opportunity to check, well, how do I prioritize taking care of my mind? Does it come after I take care of my body, all my bodily needs of eating and exercising and resting and those sorts of things? Or is it the primary thing? Because after all, our mind is the only thing we take with us at the time of death. So putting it into perspective like that can be helpful. So here we're invited to live within our own ethical conduct, to live according to our values, to live in concert with our integrity. So we're aiming at avoiding harming others either directly or indirectly. So I think it's good for all of us to remember that we do have an immense capacity for loving kindness, for compassion, for generosity, patience, all of the good qualities. We have seeds of those in our mind, and we've developed them to a certain extent. But if your mind is anything like mine, then I also know I have a pretty good capacity for anger and irritation, resentment, and all the rest, jealousy, pride, all the rest. So here's an opportunity to really stay on top of an intention. I want to cultivate my positive qualities. So this matches up with the first division of ethical conduct, the ethical conduct of restraint, really refraining from, consciously, intentionally, with determination some days, really refraining from saying those hurtful things or giving a certain look. We all have that look that we give somebody to let them know we're not happy. I think I gave somebody that look this morning after a stand-up meeting. So all of this is based on the most important concept that our mind is the creator of our happiness and suffering. Positive states of mind lead to positive actions and positive results. So we need to make that connection. Negative states of mind lead to negative actions, negative results. So we can see this to some degree in this life. We can have an experience of this in our own life. But from a Buddhist worldview, it's even more important to have this understanding and a belief in karma, that what we do now is creating our future lives, and our experiences in our future lives. And so by keeping that larger worldview in mind, that helps to inform our motivation so that we're more likely to be aware of the dangers, the precipice that we're standing on, and that our actions do make a big difference. So again, within the Buddhist worldview, we might think particularly about avoiding the 10 non-virtues. And these are worthy of going through again and again and again. Because I suspect that all of us have a point where we say, of course, I would never do that, but maybe we draw the line somewhere else. So it's important to know, well, where is my limit? What am I really 100% confident in that I will not kill certain things? But what about if I find out I have worms? Or, what if I find out my house has termites? What if there's a mouse in the house? All of these things, we just have to investigate. Where do I draw the line? And how firmly am I going to hold to each of these, avoiding each of these 10 non-virtues? So I think for most of us, the 3 of speech or the 3 of body are pretty easy to take care of. But the 4 of speech, because we're talking all the time, these are the ones that I find I need to come back to again and again and stay on top of. And then non-harmful thoughts of anger, judgment, rumination, blaming others, fault-finding, criticism, things like this. These are so easy to run in the background, like a virus in the back of your computer, just constantly percolating. And if we don't pay attention, those will come out in our actions. So not even harming anyone with our thoughts. So that's one way of looking at this first line, this first aspiration. There's a quote by His Holiness that helps us to take it even a step further. He says that from a Buddhist perspective, nonviolence isn't just the absence of harm or violence. It's something much more positive and meaningful. The fuller expression of nonviolence is compassion, the practice of compassion. Genuine compassion develops when we accept others being just like us, recognizing that each of us wants happiness, doesn't want suffering. And that's a basic human right. So today, as much as possible, I will not harm myself or others with my body, speech, and mind. So we need to include ourselves in that, and to be mindful that afflictions harm us first. Sometimes it's easy to forget that anger, as soon as anger arises in our mind, it burns us first. And same thing with attachment. Attachment pretends to be our friend. It's going to bring us something good. But if we really think about it, the long-term result of that, it leaves us dissatisfied, many disadvantages to attachment. So I just encourage you to think about this first aspiration and really understand what it means for you, so that we take it to the next level of our understanding and practice and application. Then today, as much as possible, I will be of benefit and service to others with my body, speech, and mind. So I think this matches up nicely with the second type of ethical conduct, the ethical conduct of practicing virtue. So any type of virtuous action done for the benefit of others falls in this category. And these would include the 10 virtues, the opposite of the 10 non-virtues. You know, we're actually protecting life, protecting other people's possessions, protecting others, protecting our relationships and the relationships of others, protecting our speech in particular. And especially it includes, as it's described in the Lamrim Chimo, it's practicing the 6 perfections. So today, as much as possible, may I practice generosity. May I practice ethical behavior and patience, joyous effort. May I generate more concentration and do all of this with an awareness of wisdom. So this can be any virtue or benefit that we have not yet developed to the degree that we want to. Then we think about developing it further. And it helps us to protect those practices from degenerating as well. Then we also try to consciously increase or improve the virtuous practices that we're already doing. So this would even include, for a bodhisattva, this would include really learning about the paths and grounds and all the different progressions that a person can take along the stages to a good human rebirth, precious human rebirth, liberation, and enlightenment. And then finally, today I will hold in my mind the bodhicitta motivation to attain awakening for the benefit of others. So this matches up, I think, nicely with the third ethical conduct of acting for the welfare of living beings. So after we've controlled our mind a bit with the first aspiration and accumulated some merit with the second, that's when we're ready to really help others. So from the Buddhist ideal, we talk about bodhicitta, the bodhicitta motivation. But people who are not Buddhist or haven't yet gotten to the point in their practice of thinking about bodhicitta, we can match this up with whatever is our largest aspiration that we wish to attain. That can be our motivation for the day. So it could be a Christian ideal, it could be just basic good human values, whatever is the larger goal or aspiration of our life. And why is that so important? Because as we know from a Buddhist point of view, our motivation is absolutely the most important thing that determines the outcome of the actions that we're involved with. And so this helps us to overcome self-cherishing, self-centered attitude, thinking that my happiness is the most important thing. I want what I want when I want it. And then that leads to all sorts of anxiety and fear. I'm not going to get what I want. But with bodhicitta, we aspire to help all sentient beings. And so in the Lamrim, then these 11 types of beings are mentioned that we can keep in mind. And these are the people that we want to make a special effort in helping. So sentient beings who need immediate and direct help, beings who don't know how to achieve what they desire, beings who need material or spiritual assistance, beings who are in fear, in misery, in poverty, sentient beings who need someplace to stay when traveling, sentient beings who want friends or agreeable companions, sentient beings who desire to enter the practice that leads to liberation or enlightenment, sentient beings who are on a wrong path and need help to reverse the direction, and sentient beings who need extraordinary, miraculous help. I'm not sure I'll speak for myself, I'm not up for that one yet, but the others, it's good to keep in mind. And if we can't help physically, or we can't help with our body, speech, and mind, at least creating an aspiration that may I develop the qualities that I need to always be able to benefit people who are in dire straits, people who really need support. May I have the qualities, the skills, and the energy and resources to be able to help them. So as you can see, these 3 daily aspirations encompass really, I think, the entire path to awakening. Or I think they also match up with this beautiful verse from the Dharmapada. Do not commit any unwholesome actions. Perform only wholesome actions. Subdue your mind. This is the teaching of the Buddha.